This is the Epically Geeky Show, a place for all things geeky.
Welcome out to the Epically Geeky Show, episode number 182. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight's opening question is, and it comes from Joseph, and he's not even here, which is just kind of sad, but he's had a week. If you had to give up all geeky things for 40 days, because we are in the middle of Mardi Gras, what would you do the day before? Would anyone like to go first? Because if not, I kind of want to jump in here.
Go ahead.
All right. So here's my first thing. First, we have to define what's geeky. So, like, if you're watching movies is not geeky, that's not a geeky thing. Watching some movies could be considered geeky. So, like, if I were going to say, or let's say watching TV. So, like, I've been watching Cougar Town with my wife. We loved that show when it originally came out. We've been doing a rewatch of it. It's not a geeky show, so I would not consider that. But, like, if I said, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch, the second season of Andor, now we're getting into questionable area. So I was thinking about it. If I had to give up like everything geeky, number one, I think I'd just die for 40 days. Because like, that's my life. I don't know. Like I think I would try to like cram like I said, I'd have to have some very, very strong guidelines as to what's qualified and not. Because are video games geeky? Are they? Because I know a lot of people who are not geeks that play video games. So,
all right, hold on. So the definition of geeky is very knowledgeable about and interested in a particular subject, especially one that is technical or a specialist or a niche interest. But it doesn't matter if you're very knowledgeable and very focused on one subject. Doesn't matter what it is, you're geeky about it.
And I totally agree with that.
So,
I agree with that 100%.
Cougar Town. You're very knowledgeable about the show Cougar Town and you watch it a lot. You're geeky about it. That counts.
All right. Okay. So thanks, Sean. Thanks for making this hard. I don't know. I guess depending on the day, like I take off work and be like, all right, I'm going to the movie theater. I'm going to watch everything that I've been wanting to watch, that's, out or whatever. Go home, play some video games, watch some TV shows, and then, like I said, pretty much cry for the next 40 days. Like, I get it if it's like you have to give up one thing, like, because I mean, traditionally for Lent, that's what you're doing is you're giving up something. So it's like you can't play video games, or I can't watch, geeky movies or something like that. But giving up all things geeky, I don't think I could do it. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. So, Ray, thoughts?
The only way you're convincing me to give up anything that long is there's better be a fucking prize at the end of this. I'm serious. Like, I am not giving up anything that I enjoy that long without something that's going to come at the end of it. And saving my soul is not going to be one of those things. So I'm not doing it, man. You can't convince me it's worth it.
Fair enough. Chris?
Oh, I would do absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Because you're not giving it up.
It's not that I'm not giving up. It's 40 days. I know it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was like you have to give it up forever, okay. Well, then yes, I would cry. But then I'm going to go through because I couldn't. If I only had one day, I couldn't go through all of the stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't do anything. I would just go about my normal day. And then the next day it would just be, it's like binging. It's like when you're going on a diet and you're like, diet starts Monday. So Sunday, you eat all the fucking food. And then you crave it and you miss it. And that's all you can think about. So I just would carry on as normal. And then after the 40 days, I'd be like, oh, it's been 40 days. Cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm trying to so going back to video games, I'd be like, well, I'm really into retro gaming, so I guess I'd have to give that up. So I guess I could be like, all right, boys, I guess it's time to play some Fortnite because I don't give two shits about this. So
you got to be careful. You got to be careful though, because in that 40 days, all of a sudden now you're geeky about it. So you got to give that up.
Not if I don't get into it. Not if I'm just like, nope, I'm just sitting there with the controller. I'm literally passing time. So what about you, Sean?
So like knowing that definition, I would then just day before have a little cry and then put a whole bunch of random topics in a hat that
Mhm.
I knew nothing about and then pick one of them out and guess what I'm going to be doing for the next 40 days? I'm going to be learning something new that
Fair
I
enough.
don't know anything about and I'm not interested in, but I'm going to learn it anyway.
Mhm.
Defeats the geeky thing.
See,
Yeah.
that sounds like hell to me. Because if I have no interest in it,
Well,
I can't
Oh.
do it.
It would, it would be hard. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. But it'd
So.
occupy my mind.
True. You're basically
That's-
trying to find something to fill the time until the 40 days is over,
Yeah.
essentially.
So
So,
No.
but
No, I'm not doing it. No.
I'm like you. I'm not, unless I've
Yeah.
got a gun to my head, it's not happening. So,
No.
Yeah, give me a prize at the end of, well, then we'll talk.
it has to be a good price too, right? It can't just be
Right.
like, yeah.
1.5 mil.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, tonight, the topic, this came about. There's a good chance if you listen to this show, you probably also listen to a show. It's now called After Lunch. Originally, it was called Nerd Lunch, and there was a throwaway line. Literally, they didn't really go really in depth into it, but they just had this throwaway line at the beginning of an episode where they were talking about how could you ruin a movie, and the movie they were talking about was Jaws. How could you ruin Jaws by like putting all the crappy modern day tropes that people use for movies in there? And they talked about it for just a minute or two and then kind of moved on, and I just thought that would be a fun topic. So that's what we're doing tonight. We are going to I tasked everyone with finding movies that are generally thought to be, you should never remake that movie should never be remade. Jaws falls under that category. And we're going to remake them, but we're going to use all those absolute horrible tropes, and we're going to see what monstrosities we end up producing. So, with that being said, would anyone like to go first?
Sure.
All right, Ray, what is your first movie?
So, first one I'm going to talk about is Almost Famous. Now,
Okay.
I accidentally made a movie that Chris would have actually watched.
Okay.
I mean, really, like I could watch that.
If you don't know Almost Famous, please go watch this movie. It is really good. It's about a kid that wants to get into writing about music and stuff like that, and then he basically gets a job with
A band.
no, not with the band, with Rolling Stone magazine
Yes. That's it.
to write about a band. And so he follows them around, and it's all about it. But it's so much more than that. It has such a good heart in it.
And a
So-
great soundtrack.
A fantastic soundtrack. So if you were to remake it, I would never go see it because it couldn't live up to what it was. Like they made original music to this that
Mhm.
came out of the 70s. Like it's
Mhm.
yeah, it's just really cool. That being said, Almost Famous the remake would be a teen comedy set in the 90s. And
Okay.
I would need I would need to like figure out like how they have the trope of like which that you have like specific kids. So like William would be like the new kid that came to town, and then Penny would be like the popular girl, and then you pick another couple of characters, and they would flesh out like your typical people. So this movie now follows a group of kids that are going to take their new friend William, because he just moved to town and doesn't know anybody, and he's never been to a concert. So they're now going to take him to his first concert, and they get some tickets, and it's basically a cross country road trip that first kids road trip. So no parents around, and that typical tropes of like they run out of gas and they get into a fight with some stupid people, and like it's
Mhm.
all this stupid shit that happens in every teen movie. And then when they get to the concert, they find out that their tickets are fake, and so now they have to figure out how they're gonna get into the concert and in any way possible. And who knows, maybe they'll actually become famous to get in there.
Fair
I like
enough.
that. I would watch that.
Yeah, I gotta say you probably hit on like a ton of tropes in there that like it sounds like such a generic 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is
I'm
basically
surprised that
Road
movie
Trip
hasn't been
reskinned.
made. It probably has.
Yeah, well, Chris and I were talking. It feels like Euro Trip mixed with was it Road Trip? What's
Road Trip? Yeah, that's
Road
one of them.
Trip.
Yeah,
It almost sounds like a bit of 70s show mixed in there too.
A little bit, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So, well, good job, sir. Anything anyone else wants to throw on there to worsen it up a little bit?
Yeah, kind of worsen it.
There's a teen pregnancy.
Sure,
yeah,
we throw that in there too.
He gets pregnant. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
See, and that was the thing about this one was I wanted to cut the band out of it because the band is such a integral part of the heart of the story,
Mhm.
and when you don't have that in this one, it makes it just a typical thing. So the only time that you're going to see the band is when they're on stage, and they'll have some quick interaction with the main, like the Will, the new guy. Or you know, what'd be even more funny is that he misses the entire concert, and everybody can't figure out where he is, and he got locked in the bathroom, and then that's where he sees the band somewhere, and they get him out of the bathroom or something like that.
You know what would be awesome is so we find some awesome bands from the 90s, maybe even some of them that aren't even together anymore, and that's like the draw is like, hey, we got so and so back together, and we don't hear any music from them.
Oh,
like literally, we just see them walking on stage or off stage, and everyone's like,
"Yep,
what? They're not going to play? Yep."
Nope.
Or what was the name of the new guy?
William.
Or, yeah. Get him stoned for the very first time, and then he actually hangs out with the band without realizing it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's even better. Yeah. And so he misses the concert because he's backstage in the
stoned out of his tree because drugs are bad. Okay. So
drugs are bad. Okay. So nice. Would anyone like to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Chris, what is your first movie?
The first movie that I picked that should never ever be remade ever is Galaxy Quest.
Oh yes, that's a good pick.
Love this movie. So I'm turning it into a tragic love story. And it is a tragic love story. I love romance. A tragic love story between Gwen, who is the lonely wife of the egotistical Captain Taggart. And one day she meets Dr. Lazarus. And if you don't remember Dr. Lazarus, it's Alan Rickman's character.
Mm-hmm.
She meets Dr. Lazarus, an alien from the planet Maktar. They start a love affair. It ends when Taggart finds out, and in an enraged state, he goes to attack Gwen, but Lazarus defends her. And in the kerfuffle, he kills Taggart, but he is fatally wounded, and he dies in her arms. And Gwen vows never to love again.
God, I would not see that movie.
No, I would not either.
No, that you did awesome on that, Chris.
Yeah, you put a stake through that one real quick.
Holy.
Which, by the way, Hollywood, if you make any of these fucking things, I'm going to kill you.
You
No!
owe us money.
We're flat out telling you, do not do this.
Oh,
Like,
don't do this.
yeah, absolutely.
I have a feeling, though, that this somewhere exists as a Kindle download for like a novel. I'm pretty sure.
I can imagine this actually being like, now that they know it's all fake. It's the race that come on. I can't remember the names. Anyway, it's like
it's their fan fiction.
Yep.
At least as long as it in a porn version of it. What were they called in Dungeon Crawler Call when they do the little fan fiction porn films or what? Snips.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the snips.
Snips. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway. Well, Sean, do you want to go next? You want me to go next?
I'll go.
All right. So what's your first movie?
So I had a hard time understanding what we were trying to do, so I just picked one trope and used it to alter a movie. So originally I was going to try doing Mac and Me, but I already hate that movie so bad that...
How can you... Oh, my God.
Were you going to say, how could you hate that movie?
No, I was going to... no, I would just...
Or how could I remember it? Because
how could you make it worse? That's my thing. Like, oh, my God.
Oh, well,
that movie is so worse. So real quick, side note before we go down this rabbit hole. I've only ever watched it. I think I kind of saw parts of it growing up just because I'd heard how bad it was. I've only ever watched it once. and that was with my son Nicholas, and that was watching it as a Mystery Science Theater 3000. And even he's like, Dad, how could you watch this movie without it not being like this? I'm like, it's not possible, dude.
I went to the theater to see this. My parents.
Oh my
took us.
God, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
I never saw it.
Never saw it.
Oh, you're not missing. Well, product placement. Coke and McDonald's product placement. That was.
yeah,
The aliens are saved by Coke, literally.
literally. So I'm interested to see where you're going with this.
No, I was going to, and then I'm like, this movie's so stupid. I don't want to even talk about it anymore, even though we did. So I chose another movie I absolutely hate and gave me nightmares, E.T.
Oh, okay.
Because
I love that movie. So
they see that's what I'm going off of. A lot of people like that's the best movie in the movie world, and that fucking movie gave me nightmares. I hate E.T. Damn thing. Anyway, I want to use the trope that like all aliens are here to take over the world. And I figured
Nice.
let's fuck over this beloved classic with that in thought. So like doing a remake of that with like kind of a Ridley Scott kind of feel to it.
Okay.
And then like that opening scene where they're in the forest collecting specimens and all that. Well, my version is they're not collecting stuff. They're laying biochemical canisters to wipe out humanity in that
Okay.
opening scene. So, and then E.T. does get separated when they have to leave because they're still little puny little aliens. So they're not going to do like a physical warfare. They're going to like go like use their brains and wipe out humanity and then come and eat our carcasses kind of thing. But so he's left behind and the kids find him same as before. So he's like kind of faking it. But when they find him, one of the canisters kind of breaks open and the kids get a good whiff of the gas and don't die. So there's his mission. He's got to call home and tell them the gas doesn't quite work. It's not killing all the humans. So
Okay.
running around, pretending to be the good guy, trying to figure out how he can kill all these little bastard humans. And then dials at home and Elliot like cuts his finger and he realizes that they had like, oh, these are like iron based blood cells kind of thing. And he figures out how to kill them. And then, government captures him. And instead of like having that healing power, he like wipes them all out and his ship comes down and Elliot's all happy. Oh, you're going to go home. And then he like smiles evilly and like opens up the gas canister and bada bing, bada boom. He's already altered the formula and they start choking to death. And
rips him off as he gets
the end of the movie is news reports of mass casualties of people dying off from this mysterious gas. So, yeah,
That sounds
aliens
awful.
taking over the world.
No, I would not watch that.
Like literally the last scene is just the Earth and you see more and more of their ships like starting
Yeah,
to, like
starting to come
surround
in
the planet.
and
Yep.
they're all like doing that like happy dance or whatever that you see in like the Imperial Senate from yeah, they're like they look all cute and all that, but they all have like evil grins on their faces.
Just for shits and giggles, you should do like them calling each other with the music of like
tie in something else. Yeah, there you
You
go.
could throw like every Spielberg movie in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And just ruin them all in one movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, just make them evil little bastards. That just
Nice.
the whole time he's trying to figure out how to kill kids. They already know how to kill all the adults and all that. The gas works on the adults, but for some reason it's not killing the kids. And the kids are still bigger than they are, so they got to go too. Yeah.
Somehow or another, this sounds like this would be a movie that like would completely bomb with the theater, but would have had like a cult following eventually. Like 20, 30 years later, like they're doing entire conventions just for this movie.
Oh,
So, yeah.
You know what? That's the
hate that
movie.
movie.
That's the movie that's gonna be made when ET goes to public domain.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
right. Kind of like how
100% Steamboat Willie.
Oh yeah, Steamboat Willie, the whole Winnie the Pooh
Winnie the
thing.
Pooh.
Yeah, what was it Blood and Honey or whatever it's called? And yeah. You're 100% right on that, man. Good call on that.
There you go.
The first movie I picked was Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I mean this is clearly a movie that should not be remade. And I was talking it over with my partner at work because he's a huge Indiana Jones fan. He's a huge Indy fan. Well, one of the first things that we need to change, because like I said, we're using modern tropes on this. So the first thing is we either need to, I'm thinking we need to age down a lot. So Indy's going to barely be in, like, he's maybe not teaching a college class, like maybe he's the assistant or whatever, because we got to make sure him and Marion are the same age, because there's a big age gap there. We got to make sure we eliminate that, because we don't want anyone losing their shit to the fact that he went after when she was 15. So I get rid of that. Let's see here. So Indy cannot collect, whenever he's going after artifacts and stuff, he can't collect them for the museums, because that's evil. You're taking away the heritage from people and putting them in places they don't belong, into people who they don't belong to. So instead, like, everything he collects, he has to give it back to whoever it is. So I was trying to figure out exactly, like, especially in that opening scene, like when he comes out and he's got the idol. He's gonna, in the original scene, he hands over the idol to Belloc, and then ends up escaping. Well, he's gonna hand it over to the native people there, and they're gonna be thankful. And then as he starts to walk off, Belloc's gonna be like, he was going to steal it. The only reason you're here is, and so we still at least get that chase scene. But yeah, nothing has to do with the museum, because museums are bad. And here's my biggest one. And this is coming a little bit out of US politics right now. So Belloc and Toph they want to collect the Ark of the Covenant so they can end the war, so that they can save lives, because not all Nazis are bad, right? Like, we got to give them the benefit of a doubt. Like, just because they're Nazis, they could be trying to do this out of the goodness of their hearts. Now, they're not going about it the right way, and yeah, some people die, but because that's the thing in movies nowadays, is the bad guys they can't just be two-dimensional characters. They have to have a reason for it. Like, Thanos was, even though he was twisted, he still had an idea. He was trying to help the universe. There's some air quotes if you're just listening to this show. And then like I was saying, anything that could possibly be considered offensive or whatever, whether it be the depictions of any native people, whether it be anything, we got to rip all that shit's coming out of here. I even talked about it with my partner. I was like, maybe I should give him something like a talking, like, some kind of a sidekick. Cause that comes in later on in the other movies. Like, maybe he needs a sidekick, and he's like what? Like, maybe like another, the kid or someone. I'm like, no, like maybe a talking dog or something. Like,
well, that sounds blasphemous, so I don't think that's going to go either.
So any additions you want to throw on to Raiders of the Lost Ark? I think I pretty much nailed
Raiders.
it. With,
you can't have Raiders in there. Like,
oh yeah, that would be
Liberators of the Lost Ark.
There you go. We have to rename it in the first place. But yeah, as soon as I said, sympathetic Nazis, I was like, yep, I got this nailed. So
yikes.
Yeah, don't clip that one.
No, I won't be clipping this one. Fair enough.
That kind of algorithm coming after
No.
All right. Well, I guess we can move on to our second round. Ray, did you have another movie for us?
I did. And
all right. What you got for us?
If they better not remake this one.
Oh.
City Slickers. It is a movie that is close to my heart. I have watched this since I was a kid.
And came up on multiple lists. Like, you're not the only one that thinks this movie should not be remade, that it's perfect like it is.
Yeah, you do not touch this movie.
Well, they tried. City Slickers 2.
Yeah, but that's not remaking it.
Yeah.
But sequels are different than remaking it. And anyway. So, City Slickers is now a Hallmark love story.
Oh. God damn.
And there it is. They immediately hate it.
Any movie, a Hallmark love story remade into a Hallmark love story is still shit. Like,
I don't know any of the names, but just by like, if you showed me pictures, I could cast this movie like that. Like, because it's the same people in those movies over and over and over again. Anyway.
So the perspective is going to shift. We're now focusing on two relationships, not Mitch just as by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So the main focus is actually going to be around Phil. So,
Okay.
So Phil is Phil is a widow, and he's inherited a bunch of money from his wife's passing, and it's been a few years, and he's got to get out of the city because the city's just it reminds him of his old wife, his old life, and he's got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to figure out what to do there, and his friends Mitch and Barbara, they're looking to reconnect. And they're like, you know what? Why don't we all go on a journey together? We'll go to your old home, Phil, and because there's a farm there that you can rent an Airbnb ranch, and we'll get a cabin and just hang out and get back to just being ourselves and really reconnect with each other there. And as we go on, we find out that Bonnie is the owner of the ranch, and she's trying real hard to make do with her situation, but her ex Curly is just a right dick and suing her for everything that she has. And well, isn't it a good idea or a good thing that Barb is actually a lawyer and she can help out, and Phil with his money is able to help out, and all of them just get along and it just hits off, and Bonnie saves the ranch, and Phil and Bonnie fall in love, and Barb and Mitch, they reconnect, and Curly gets kicked out of town. There's no comedy. No comedy in this movie at all.
Oh,
and there's no funny shenanigans, and there's no like farm animal stuff. It's just people talking.
It sounds like a season of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
So when you said no comedy, I was like, are you sure no comedy, or do you want to go with Hallmark movie comedy that's
not comedy?
Super lame.
That's people are laughing. We're not laughing, but they're following their script.
Yes. They are following the script. It is queasy to watch.
Yes, it makes my diabetes act up. It is so saccharine sweet.
City slickers.
Jeepers. Does anyone else feel dirty when they were going through this process of being like, how can I mess up the movie that I really like?
Oh, well,
I mean, not you so far, Sean, because you did a movie that you didn't like, but
I mean,
we'll
my second one I was proud of, but it did hurt a little bit. But
fair enough.
Not E.T. E.T. Fuck you.
So I've said multiple times, I've been going through and rewatching movies with my boys, and when my wife and I showed them E.T., didn't hit at all. They when I was a little boy, it scared me, and then I was crying in the theater because E.T. he was gonna die or whatever. My boys were just like, man, whatever, he's gonna die. Okay, well, sucks to suck. I'm just like,
good for them,
heartless bastards. So
I'd be curious to watch it with Logan now.
Oh, jeez.
I'd watch it with Logan now. I'm pretty sure she's we tried to watch it with her a while ago, but now to watch it with her, it would be very different.
Okay, well, let me know how that works out if it does.
We can get into it.
All right, Chris, what's your second one?
Titanic.
Oh, okay, here we go.
But you make it into a musical,
Wow.
like High School Musical, with music by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Well,
So,
if you're gonna go big, you got to go big, right?
dude, why not? So Rose, we're gonna do a little class reversal. Rose is the one from third class. Jack is the one who's the popular rich boy who's going to find himself in America. And there's lots of singing, and they're all singing on the railings because it's very dramatic, because it's out to sea and it's, the vistas and stuff like that. And they sing so often and they sing so loud that somebody actually sees the iceberg sooner, and they course correct So they don't hit it and it doesn't sink. And then at the end, while they're docking, Rose and Jack wind up becoming pen pals.
Oh my god!
I hate to say it, but that would probably make a lot of money. I wouldn't watch it personally, but
Well, yes and no, because I was going to say my only caveat I want to add was, can we please in the advertising for this not mention that it is a musical at all, like they keep doing to all these newer movies? Like people go to these movies and they're like,
Yeah.
"When was this a musical?"
Yeah.
Joker too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sneak attack.
Oh yeah.
And then
So you
people
just
are like,
completely sidestep the whole sinking of the boat, huh?
oh yeah, because it's a wholesome high school musical. It's gotta be sweet and lovely, and I mean, half the Gen Zers now think it was an actual movie and don't realize it was based on an actual event.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Not even gonna wreck the boat. Fair enough.
Oh, people out there constantly singing their little hearts out.
That's like a Disney Channel right there.
Yeah.
Like they snap that up.
Totally.
Man.
Like they would do it and just like rename it something else, so it's not Titanic. It'd be something kind of close or something like that, so they could like skirt
Bismarck,
the whole.
because they don't do the research.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and just be like, cool, we can make a bunch of money off this. So
Yeah.
High school
All right.
musical, let's see.
yeah, no shit.
Like that.
Sean, what's your next one?
All right. I did Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay.
Okay, classic. I'm surprised. Like, not everyone has seen it. Like, I tried bringing it up with Deb, and she wasn't impressed, and I found she didn't. Oh, you haven't seen it either. Oh my god.
Nope.
I have.
I love that movie.
It's probably one of those movies I think everyone should watch at least once. Like I get it if it's not your cup of tea to watch it like every Christmas or whatever, but it's one of those movies that it's like it's a trope in itself, and it's just like, well, maybe you should go watch the OG just so you really understand where this came from. But
yeah, because like the whole revisiting your life without you kind of thing, like that's where it came from.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of other ones have taken place. Probably all those holiday movies and stupid classic ones. Anyway, so the trope that I used, the oldest trope there is a surprise ending on this one.
Okay.
So, very little of the movie would change. A little bit of wording in the opening scene, Chris, is basically a light source, which is supposedly God, and a little light, which is an angel, talking to each other through flashes and stuff like that. And they basically show one of these people, George, isn't having a crisis, and God basically replays George's life for the angel to give him some context, starting as a 12-year-old boy. He falls through a frozen pond, saving his little brother, and gets an ear infection, which he then loses hearing in the one ear, and then he like grows up like high school, and then the war comes, and all the good he's done, like getting married. And so most of the movie, like 3/4 of it, is God retelling George's life. And then the angel comes in. The angel is Clarence Oddbody. That's the name of the angel. Comes in, and it's just as George is at wit's end, and he's about to jump off a bridge because he thinks the world would be better off without him. And Clarence does here, let me show you what the world would be like without you. And like all these people that he's helped and stuff like that, they're now like either dead or destitute or like horrible. So he's on his own in a world where he never existed, and he realizes, oh man, I had it so good and I helped so many people. And he's running to the bridge where he was about to jump off the first time, and Clarence stopped him, crying for Clarence to come back and help him. And Clarence does in the original movie, and that's where you like I'm trying to earn my wings. So if I help you, I'll get my wings. And then that's where every time you hear a bell ring, yeah, that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
This time comes running and Clarence shows up, and the dialogue would be something like Clarence, like, so George is begging, put things back, give me my life back. Clarence is like, but George, what life? You died in that pond. So that initial thing, and then George, I don't understand. Why would you show me all this horribleness then? Well, it was so hold on, I got this all written down. From the moment you died in that pond, you've been living in our little world. George's, it was so perfect, and I just didn't see it. God must have known what my heaven would have been all along. And Clarence replies, oh, I'm sure he does. But he wasn't the one allowing you to live that life. You see, when you were a child, you ate a shrimp. Look it up, it's a sin. And
Nice.
that's a no-no. So when you kicked the bucket, your soul became the property of my master. Think horns and a pitchfork. So George is, that's crazy. And then Clarence, is it? We have an eternity to deal with suffering, and we find it ages like a fine wine by giving you your heart's desire slowly, naturally, so you can't live without them, then taking them all away. George, my boy, that suffering is divine. And by showing you what you really truly happened when you stopped breathing in that pond those many years ago, no lie, well, your suffering was exquisite. And my boss is very happy. Happy enough to give me wings, and that's when the bat wings grow out of his back.
Ooh.
Nice.
And the movie ends with Clarence laughing and George sobbing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So total reversal. That wasn't God and an angel; it was the devil and the demon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the
I
whole
would-
movie can stay the same.
Yeah. I would love to see someone take AI and do this with the original and just put it out there and not tell anyone. And so when they get to the end, they're just like, wait, what?
It would only work, like all these twist ending movies, it would only work once the first time you saw it. Granted, you could watch it the second time and like, oh my. But to get that twist ending. But yeah, because that was a hard one because I really do like that movie. But it was like, how can I twist this? So
Of course, you could also do it. I mean, depending on who you've got writing and directing it, it would be like a lot of those movies where you'd want to watch it a second time and be like, well, wait, were there clues throughout? And as you're watching it, you're just like, yes, of course, because the thing was there instead of here or whatever.
The only other change would have to be a little bit in the dialogue in the opening with God and Clarence. But like, he's at the brink of suicide because he's tormented so much. Well, let's push it further. That's what we want. Let him live his whole life as happy as can be, and then take it all away.
And then take it all
Show
away.
him how bad it really was.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I actually do kind of like that one. So,
Good twist.
I was the whole time you were saying this, I was like, are you gonna good place this thing? So
Yeah.
which is kind of a little bit of that. So the second one I did, the second one I did was, and this came up on multiple lists as well. And honestly, the main reason I picked it was because I just watched this movie with my boys. Like I said, I'm going through and rewatching movies with them. And that is Clue. Sean, you've seen Clue, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Lots.
You two still haven't seen Clue yet, have you?
No. Oh,
Tried.
you have to watch it at least
It's
once.
so good. I
all the
understand
endings.
it's slow at the first part, and that was the fun part was right before it got to there, Sean. I paused it. I said, "Okay, so who do you think it was?" And they both had a guess. One of them guessed. I want to say one of them guessed Miss White. I think the other one guessed Miss Scarlet. So one of them was right. But then like when it shows this. When it shows the second ending, they're just like, wait, what? And I'm just like, so I explained the whole thing about it being in movie theaters and people didn't know, and you just went to watch the movie and you walked out and you were just like, hey, did you see the movie? Yeah, it was great. What did you think of the ending? And then people were getting in fist fights because they're like, no, that is not how the movie ended. You're lying. And it's like, no, it was. They just made 3 different endings. So So anyway, my first thought on this one was there are a ton of sex jokes in this thing, which is hilarious unto itself. But I was just like, at first my thought was, well, modern movie, do we remove them all? And I'm like, no, they still make raunchy sitcom, comedies these days. So we're going to turn it up to 11. We're going to like steer into it. So instead of them being there for an 80s movie, it's going to be pretty raunchy. So everyone in the movie is a bad person essentially, but some of the reasons that they're bad people in the original movie wouldn't quite fly today. So this is actually how it would have to be. So like one of them was he was covering up the possibility that he works in the federal government and he's gay. That's not a thing anymore. That wouldn't work. So I'm like, well, everyone in this movie has to be either a billionaire or a corrupted politician, because then we can root for all of them to either die or like, oh no, they're all bad people. That's exactly why they're bad people, because they're billionaires and politicians. And so that I had to change some of that stuff. I was also like, and yes, I mean, they were trying to stay true to, kind of how it was to the board game. And so this is with the exception of one, two, there's like maybe 3 people that aren't white in the original movie. And so I'm like, well, we need to fix that. So, but I'm like, we're not going to do it in a way that makes sense. We're going to just completely change things around and just like, everyone's going to be whatever. And I was, just to kind of really mess with it. So, it might make sense to maybe take a couple of the genders and flip them, but I'm just like, no, we're literally going to make it seem like someone just like put all the names in a hat and pulled something out. It's just like, all right, well, you're this. So, just to kind of really mess it up as much as possible. And then, let's see here. Oh, and then at the end of the movie, throughout the movie, we have to make sure we make references to other things. So, like maybe there's a picture of the Monopoly guy in the background, or maybe there's different things, because it's a modern movie, so we have to leave it open to a board game multiverse that we can eventually tie in more movies to. Even though technically that happened, like we got a Battleship movie, years ago.
Yep.
And I still think we did. I can't remember if it was a full episode of the previous show or a really early episode of this show, but I remember Cy had a pitch for Uno, the movie.
Oh, I do remember that.
I still think that was fantastic that he did. But anyway, yeah. So we have to make sure we tie it into some kind of a multiverse, because that's what everything has to have, a multiverse now. So,
yep.
But yeah, that's what I would do with Clue the movie.
Cool.
And the one that I initially put out there, I'll go ahead and just run through this one that they kind of talked a little bit about. What kind of started all this. Like I said, they were doing Jaws, and they're just like, yeah, if they remade Jaws, there'd be like a whole 10-minute. They'd add 10 minutes to this movie where they're doing nothing but like talking about like the politics of the local town.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about it, I was like adding on to it. And I don't think they originally said this. I was like, well, the opening movie would have to show either like the shark getting hurt by people, or it sees its mother die, because it has to have a backstory as well. Even the shark has to have a backstory at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, crap like that.
Wasn't that like Jaws 4?
Something, yeah. I think that generally was Jaws 4. Yeah. There was something else that they had said, and I can't remember what it was, but it was just like, no, that's what it was. I was like, yeah, and of course, like 2 of the guys on the boat like have to like figure out that they're actually in love with each other or some bullshit like that. Like, so, but yeah.
I did think of a third one as we were just talking.
What's that?
I thought it'd be hilarious. Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, okay.
But
You gotta make it dark and gritty.
Okay.
but I'd see that. That'd be cool.
I know. That's why.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, that'd be fun though.
Like he's just like a total badass.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's not a knife. This is a knife, and then stab the hell out.
And then stabs him. Yeah, absolutely.
Right in the face.
Oh.
Yeah. Mix in a little bit of Saw, where he's making like.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
yeah. Don't make it a gritty. Make it like a slasher horror. Like Saw.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
a torture
Body
porn,
work.
basically.
Yeah,
Like he comes to
basically.
America and just is like torturing all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And then feeds. Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah, I
That's
wouldn't see
something
that.
to do.
Nope.
Fair enough. Well, that is our main show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. I guess we're going to move on to our picks and or pans. Would anyone like to go first?
I know you're dying to, Eugene, because you.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got two. I've actually got one of each. My pick for this week is Severance season 2. I'm an episode or two behind on it. I'm still enjoying the show. It's just so weird. It's just it's a awesome idea for a show that, you know, if you could separate yourself from your work, you know, your life, your home life and your work life, what would that be like, and the things that come about it. And they are exploring some of those ideas. In that, you know, if you're what they refer to as an innie and an outie, your outie is the person that lives day to day, and then your innie is the person that's work. Is your innie a separate soul? Because they don't know about your family. They don't have a family. Like they have their own, it's limited, but they have their own friend group. They have their own lives. They're basically a completely different person. And it's possible that, you know, not knowing the things that you know, you could be a completely different person completely. Like just not just like the way that you live life, like how your attitudes and everything. So it is an interesting show. So if you watch the first season and you liked it, definitely catch up on the second one. My second item is a pan. So my dad passed away in 2020, and shortly after he passed, there was a group called I can't remember what it was called. Hero Collector, I think, was the other name for it. Eagle Moss. That was the name of it. Eagle Moss was the US version. They were a company that, like, you could you do a subscription, and every month they would send you pieces with these instructions and everything for you to build something. And they started doing an Ecto 1. This thing was going to take multiple years to do. This thing was going to cost well over $1,000 by the time it was all said and done. But it was something that I was like, you know, I think this is something my dad would have enjoyed. Like, we could have done this subscription and we could have put it together, because he used to come up at least once a month to visit, you know, me and my brother and you know, visit with the grandkids and everything. And that would have been something fun that we could have done, because, you know, it is a very, very high quality replica of the actual car. And it's Ghostbusters. So I was like, you know, hey, we'll do the Ecto 1. It'll be fun. The problem is the company started having financial problems and went under. I was about halfway through the build. I went ahead and held on to everything because I was like, well, I don't know, maybe someone else will pick this up. And sure enough, another company picked it up called Fan Home here in the US, who does similar items. It took them about 6 months to kind of get everything going, and you could resubscribe. They were asking, you know, where did you leave off? Like, which issue were you on? It's like, okay. So they picked it up, and it was all right, but there were already some issues that I had. And so, like, I had a couple of times where I was missing parts, like something came in, it was missing a part. And I was just like, hey, I'm missing this. Of the 4 packages that are supposed to come, one of them didn't come, or maybe you had something else in it. And they're like, okay, cool, we'll send you out another one. Well, they just sent me the entire package again, not just the one, the entire thing. And the one in particular I had was like most of the chassis for this thing. And it was big and heavy. And I'm just like, I needed like a part that was this big. And you sent a box that was huge. And so I was already just like, man, this company they're just throwing money around. So either this is cheaply made and it doesn't bother them, or they're just like something financially is not going on well. Yeah. I got a shipment for for someone else that was for the Knight Rider kit build.
Oh, jeez.
And I saw the original name that was on it, and I contacted him. I was like, hey, listen, I accidentally got this guy's stuff. If y'all will like pay for a packing slip and email me, I will print it out and put it on here and get it in the mail so this dude can get his thing. And they're just like, no, just keep it. I'm just like, oh, okay. Hopefully y'all gonna let the guy know that, you know, his package shipped and he hasn't gotten it yet, or y'all gonna make him wait and figure it out, like whatever. but they kept getting further and further behind. Like it was like it seemed like every other month it was, oh, hey, everything's on back order. So I'd wait a couple of months and then I'd get a shipment. It was like, okay, cool. And then I'd get another thing. Hey, it's on back order. And I'm just like, maybe it's because they've picked it up from this other company. Maybe that's the problem. And my friend Bev, who is also in the Austin Ghostbusters, who's also doing this, she's been doing it as well. And I was like, man, maybe it's just the problem because it's the Ecto one. She's like, no, I'm in a couple of different Facebook groups for this company. And everyone, it doesn't matter what the build is, they're bitching about it. They have one for like the Enterprise D. They had this super awesome one for the Enterprise D. They have like a half size R2D2. They have like a giant Iron Man that's super cool. Like they've got some really cool things, but everyone complains that the same type of stuff. They're sending me the wrong parts. When I ask that, when I tell them that I'm missing a part, they completely resend the thing. Everything's on back order, whatever it is. And it's just over and over and over again. Well, I finally got almost all of them. I'm literally waiting on, I believe, 2 more packages to get this thing finished. And this thing has lights and sound, which is pretty cool. And they've worked up to the point where I start to, earlier this week, I was working on it. I finally got to the point where I was marrying the chassis to the body. They weigh about 20 pounds a piece. This entire thing's probably going to be between 35 and 40 pounds. And it's all these little wires, and I'm trying to make sure I get them all tucked in and everything else. And like, I kind of got it together, and then I noticed that something was untucked. So I was like, oh, dang it, I'm gonna have to go back next day and figure that out. So I got that tucked back in. Well, now most of the electronics aren't working. And so I take it back apart and they work again. And what the crazy thing is like, if I get it unseated by about that much, and I'm showing like maybe half an inch, they all work. Lights come on, sound comes on, everything comes on. If I close it back down, everything still works. But as soon as I turn it off and try to turn it back on again, it doesn't work. I get it if it was a pinched wire, but if in the process of putting it back together, it should repinch the wire and cause the current to no longer go through, but it keeps going. And why would it suddenly break it when I try? So I played with it for hours. And finally, I'm just like, you know what? Let's be honest. I'm probably not going to keep batteries in the thing because it's not like I'm going to be messing with it all the time. If it was lighter, it might be something I'd even consider taking to like Ghostbuster events because it'd be really cool to look at. But it weighs so much. There's no way in hell I'm going to take this with me everywhere. So I'm like, I'm probably not going to have the lights and sound going anyway. So you know what? Screw it. I just want to get this thing done. So I start putting it together. And I've got 2 more packages I'm waiting on. But we're going to test out a little feature here. So I've got a little video. I managed to get one of the first light bars, the front light bar on it going. And now the headlights, I can't get the light up. I can't get the sound to work anymore, but I'm just like, whatever. Eventually I may go back and try to figure it out, whatever. But I want you to listen to this is the light bar. The light bar. Listen to this.
Oh, no.
Now, it's cool if you're watching the video version, you see what's going on. But if you're not watching the video version, what you just watched was in the light bar, how, the old school light bars, like on vehicles, the lights spin around. And that's what's happening. It was cool that I got to build it so it got together. And I used the lubricant that came with it. And it still sounds like that. And I'm just like, so even with the music and stuff going, if I turn on the lights, it's going to be over the Ghostbuster sound. And I'm just like, I'll be honest with you. If I honestly thought I could sell this thing and get back a decent amount of money for it without having to deal with it, but it's so big and it's so heavy and it would cost me a crap ton of money to ship the thing. I can't guarantee that nothing on it would break and everything. I'm just like, no, I'm just going to have this really awesome Ecto forever that hopefully I'll look at it and be like, that's pretty cool. But I'm so upset with it. I just want to get the damn thing done. I pretty much convinced my friend Bev. She hasn't started on it yet. She's just been collecting it. I think I've about got her convinced. Collect the last boxes, make sure you have everything, and just recoup money. Don't even start on this thing. Because she's a modder like I am. She likes to make stuff. And I'm like, I'm like, Bev, I'll be very honest with you. Like, no offense to you or anything, but like when you get to the part where you have to marry some of these parts together, you're going to need a second person because you're not going to be strong enough to do it. It weighs so much. I'm gonna put the video up here real quick again, just because I want to show this. I'm not gonna play it, but see the two little chrome and blue lights that are on the front there?
Yeah.
There's a pair on the front and there's a pair on the back. And the way that you install those are you have to have the body upside down and they screw in from the inside. And then you put the roof liner on top of it and screw that on. So you can't even get to the screws anymore. And then they tell you at some point, well, we need you to flip the thing over to like marry it together, but make sure you don't break off the light. I broke off all 4 lights. I don't see how there was any way I could do it without building a special rig that I could do this. And the further I get, like, I'll go back one more time. You'll notice that all of the wires are separate. And I'm just like, why did they do that? Why did they not like do ribbon cables? I mean, yeah, some of the wires have to kind of jet out to different places, but why are they not using ribbon cables? Like each individual wire has its own little connector. They should have used like, you know, a ribbon cable with like a large, and I'm just like, it would have made it like 1,000 times easier. It's the further I've gone into this thing, the less impressed I've been.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. And because I was even thinking at one point, I was like, well, when I'm done with this, they have a DeLorean. I'd love to have a DeLorean. That'd be awesome. But I'm like, after this, I will never give that company another penny of my money. And I will tell everyone from the mountaintops, do not start a thing with Fan Home. As awesome as some of this stuff looks, like I can send y'all videos. There's people I followed online that did the entire build for like the R2D2 or the Iron Man, and they looked fantastic. But I could always tell in the background there was something like he was like, well, they're sponsoring this, so it would always seem like maybe in the background he wanted to say something, but he's like, well, they're a sponsor, they can't say anything. And now I'm just like, oh, I get it. That's exactly what was happening. Yeah. So, that was a long drawn out pan, but if you're listening to the show, seriously, do not give Fan Home any money, period. As cool as their stuff looks, don't do it. All right. Who would like to go next?
Sure.
All right, Ray, what's your pick and/or pan?
So a couple picks. Survivor's back. Really enjoying that. We're at episode 2, and it's fun. I don't know. So a year from now, we will be in Survivor 50, and they are doing fan votes for how, like, what's going to make it into the season. So I did take part in the first one. I don't know what the last one was. So it sounds like each episode there's going to be something for the fans to vote on. So
that's cool.
That's kind of neat. It was also the NHL trade deadline today, so I got to follow along that, and the Leafs made a couple of trades that I'm excited about. So we'll see what happens there. I'm also not excited because Brad Marchand went to Florida Panthers, and fuck. Anyway. And my pan is the weather. I am so fucking sick of winter. So done. I am just the roads have been closed so often.
Yeah.
And I'm very done with this winter. It can be over anytime now.
Fair enough. Chris, what's your pick and/or pan?
I have only one. I'm going to do the pan first because I only have one, which is this current season of Love is Blind, which is season 8, is so boring. Never have I ever wished for people to be more petty and more dramatic. Like, calm down. These people are so boring. This cast is from Minnesota. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like, oh my God, just so boring. And only one couple gets married. And then the reunion is Sunday at 9:00, just so you know. I'm watching that. I'm going to ignore you till it's over. I'm looking forward to that. That's the only thing this entire season I am looking forward to is that friggin' reunion, because that's when people get pissy and petty, and I love it. So I'm hoping it's good. Otherwise, anyway, so my picks, I've been going through a real television tear. I found out. So Survivor is one of them. It's season 48.
Mhm.
They last year or last season, I think they decided to extend how long the episodes are. So if you're watching it on regular television with commercial breaks, it's a 2-hour episode. If you're streaming it, it's an hour, just over an hour and a half. I haven't really noticed a difference. I think it's nice that you get to see more camp life. This season's good. They've got some very strong personalities, which is what they needed in Love is Blind. Everybody was so freaking vanilla. Then Pop Culture Jeopardy is like my new favorite show. I feel so smart because I get like 90% of the questions right. And I feel even more smart when I get the question right and nobody gets it. It's so much fun because
Christy and I've watched a couple of episodes.
Yeah, I do like Jeopardy, but like Jeopardy's like, I am not that's not where my intelligence lies.
Same.
Yeah, so this is so much fun. And then I finished a series on Disney Plus called Rivals. It's got David Tennant in it. It's 8 episodes. It's really raunchy, but it's really good British humor. And it's set in the mid 80s, centered around this fictitious television broadcasting company.
Mhm.
And it left on a massive cliffhanger. So it better be picked up for a second season, just so I know what happens.
Nice.
And then I went on a real docuseries tear. So I watched on Netflix was one called Apple Cider Vinegar, which is about Belle Gibson, who was I guess like one of the OG wellness influencers. She faked cancer, and it came out that she had been faking this cancer. She did not get arrested. She's been charged essentially, but no jail time. No money's been recouped from her. She tried to actually get into another organization that was in Ethiopia, of all places. She's a white lady. So that was very interesting, and because it was a fictional, kind of like The Crown, where it was mostly true, but some names have been changed and some things happened and didn't happen, but it was really interesting. Then alongside that was a docuseries called Scamanda, which was another woman from America who faked having cancer. Only she did it through a church and swindled these people out of $300,000.
I think Christy's watched that one. I think that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I forget her last name. And then I watched Hillsong, which is a documentary about the Hillsong Church. It became popular in America, like Justin Bieber and Chris Pratt were kind of sort of a part of it. They went to a couple of services and stuff, and just the kind of the shit that went behind the scenes and stuff like that. So that church documentaries always fascinate me. Then I watched Ruby Frankie, Devil in the Family. She was a YouTube influencer, family vlogger who it came out that she was severely abusing, especially her 2 younger children. She had really weird, strict rules for her children. One of her sons, he had done something and he'd lost the privilege of his bedroom for 7 months. He had to sleep on a beanbag in the basement because of something he did or didn't do. I can't remember. She would not feed them. They would lose the privilege to eat. Just things like that.
You probably would know her because one of her kids it was all over the news.
Yeah.
The kid came to the neighbor and asked for help. And the old guy was like, what do I need? Like, and then so he called the cops, and there was a video of him coming onto the property and just asking for help.
It's in Utah.
Yeah. Where
all good Mormon family bloggers are from. And she's actually serving time now, her and this woman that she was in cahoots with.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I watched Age of Influence, which was all about these social media scams, different people perpetrating these social media scams. So it was like Instagram, Instagram influencers, YouTube influencers.
Presidency.
Sorry. Not about that yet, but I've heard a few ones. But yeah, just really. So this is my crime documentary. Instead of listening and watching murder documentaries, I watch this stuff instead because it does nightmares. So yeah, most of that's on Apple TV, not Apple TV, Disney Plus. Sorry, Disney Plus, or Netflix.
Nice.
It's really good.
Sean, you got a pick or pan for us?
Pick right off the bat, Daredevil, Reborn.
Haven't started yet. I've heard nothing but good.
On my watch list.
It is, holy crap, first 10 minutes of the first episode, holy mother of pearl. But no, excellent. It's right back to like how the original series was. It is so good. Catherine watched it as well, and like we're just I watched it the night before she did, so I'm like trying not to say anything, and she was like, "Oh my god!" and like, "Oh yeah, just loved it." So yeah, Tuesday nights. That's the problem. Tuesday's my bowling night, so I have to like watch it the next day. I can't watch it the day of, or otherwise I won't remember it. But no, Daredevil, awesome. And then like we're Canadian. We have a shit ton of pans, but I won't get into them. Gotta love lint, right? Thank you. There's a pick. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. But and then yeah, lots of local Canadian companies are really pulling together. So yeah, that's about it.
All righty. I guess that's our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever it is you listen to the show. If you're watching the show, please go to YouTube and like and subscribe, epicallygeeky.com, where you can also find the other shows we do, including the Marginally Geeky Show, the Creatively Geeky Show, and Sustainably Geeky Show. You can find us on the social medias on Facebook and Instagram at Epically Geeky as well. I've been chopping up the episodes and making reels. So, you know, if you haven't caught an episode, check out the reels, because you may be like, oh, okay, that looks really funny or really interesting. I need to definitely check out that episode. So where can we find you online, Ray?
Watching our interview with Dennis E. Taylor, because that was fun.
Because it was.
And then the Reluctant Yeti on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Chris?
Just on Instagram at Moody Midlife.
Sean?
Scrolling around on Wikipedia again. All you college students and university students, be careful what you look at. And your favorite broken toy on Instagram and TikTok.
And as always, you can find my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Shane on Facebook and Instagram. For everyone on the site, have a good night.